Good morning. Welcome back to Ringside Wrestling. This is your WINCLY TV episode of the week. We are here every Friday, 2 o'clock Central on the Ringside Wrestling app. I am the managing editor for WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, and I am joined here, as I am every Friday, by my good friend back from vacation. I shouldn't say every Friday. He hasn't been here for 2 weeks. He is the president, executive editor, El Comandante of WrestlingInc.com. It is Raj Giri. Raj, welcome back to the WINCLY TV.
Thanks, Nick. It's good to be back.
Yes, and we are so happy to have you guys back here as well. Like I said, every Friday, 2 p.m. Central Time, we are here with WINCLY TV. The Ringside Wrestling app's the place to get it. Totally free to download. There is original pro wrestling programming. That's about every night of the week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, including a lot of great shows, Danger Zone, Fantasy Warfare 2. You can see Josh Matthews, Petey Williams, Madison Rain, so many more right here, Ringside Wrestling app. Get in on it. A lot there. Big sell, Raj. Big sell.
Absolutely.
And also here on the show today, after we get done talking the news of the week, the top 5 stories of the week, we have another field interview. This week, it's not Andy Malnaski. It's our own Joey G, the man we had out on the beat at the AEW Double or Nothing ticket party in Vegas. He is back with his latest feature. He got an interview with none other than PJ Black, ROH wrestler PJ Black, former Justin Gabriel in WWE. You guys are absolutely going to love it. But with that all out of the way, let's get to it, Raj. You haven't been around for 2 weeks. There's a lot of news that we haven't gotten into. I'm very interested to pick your brain. We'll start with what I thought was the top story of the week, and that was that AEW's All Out sold out in about 15 minutes with about 80,000 fans waiting in line online to buy tickets. This show is going to be headlined by Adam Page versus Chris Jericho to crown the first champ. What do you think we can glean from the fact that AEW did bucos of business here right out of the gate for All Out?
It's insane. I mean, selling out in 15 minutes, the demand was crazy. I mean, the amount of people I heard from, I had some people from the staff contacting me. And, between 70 and 80,000 people in line. And I think they got through somewhere between 7 to 8 is where the line sold out. So, you could do the math about potentially how many more. I know there's estimates out there of over 100,000, 130,000. You don't know how many of those are fans that are logged in multiple times, but it definitely would have been a lot, a lot more than 10,000, a lot more than 50,000. I think it's fair to say. So, I mean, these big shows that AEW are doing, I feel like it might have been a little bit of a missed opportunity not doing it in the stadium.
Maybe, well, they want to stay, and I agree, because they want to stay true to the Sears Center here, Hoffman, Illinois. But you've got United Center, up the street, Allstate Arena in the same area as well. I was a little surprised they went back to Sears Center too. But when I see this and I read, and I hear the same numbers, 80, 100,000 people waiting in line to buy tickets, 100,000 people buying $50 pay-per-views to watch Double or Nothing. Are we possibly, I know we all think it's really cool and we're in the bubble in pro wrestling, but do you think there's a chance maybe we are underestimating the value that AEW has right now as they come into October?
I think so. I constantly do. Every time I have to pick a number, it's way low. I was predicting the not all in the Double or Nothing buy rate to be maybe around 50,000 buys. Now it's it's over 100,000. I knew this was going to sell out, but I didn't think that there would be that many people waiting. And so, AEW, especially the big shows, Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen, those aren't sold out, but those are smaller shows,
right.
not really any big marquee matches. They got some big names, but not the big matchups. But these big shows, I mean, this is the third in a row when you just count the big shows, and it hasn't stopped yet. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger each time.
Yeah, I do. I wonder how Fyter Fest will do, right? That's their next one. Like you say, this is really the AEW's first B show. I feel weird saying that. We obviously in poll events, whatever you want to call them. But Fyter Fest here, this is going to be free, right? Fans can just go over, download the BNR app. We'll see, how many people can you fill that stream up with? Can it handle it? But they have Moxley on that card. He's taking on Janela. There's a couple other things here. I'll be interested to see how that does, because does it only work when they put everything into it like they do an All Out or Double or Nothing event, or can they keep that momentum going in between, right? I would think that's the test here.
Yeah, absolutely. But even for a B show, I mean, it's selling pretty well. It's not sold out, but they're looking at 4,500 people, 5,000. For a show, for a promotion's first B show that doesn't even have TV yet in a market that's not hot for wrestling. So
yeah.
Yeah, again, we'll have to wait and see. Right now, you're getting these shows, few and far between with the big shows. Once they got weekly TV, the numbers they're doing on weekly TV and stuff. If they're traveling across the country and there's this much demand, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, 100% on that one. And we'll be there at Fyter Fest next weekend. By the way, I'll be there with Michael Weissman. We're gonna be in the scrum there. Hopefully talking to Jon Moxley, Kenny Omega, Joey Janela, who else they'll let us buzz with backstage there. So stay tuned for that. We'll probably have some of the video interviews rolling out in the coming weeks from those scrums as well. But on our that is our top story of the week. Here's our second top story of the week. While AEW's All Out was sold out, it sounds like WWE Talent Wants Out. At least that's according to Dave Meltzer of The Observer. He is reporting that the number of WWE talent that went out of their contracts right now would absolutely blow your mind. Now, while reportedly there were a lot of people on the fence, they look at how successful and well-produced Double or Nothing was. They look at how popular Jon Moxley is now out there in AEW as before when he was a world champion in WWE. Now, WWE trying to stymie this right now. They're offering more money, but some talent is just said to be miserable, and that's not enough. WWE trying to convince the talent that if they leave WWE, they will be less valuable. And WWE to that, and also trying to convince the fans that talent that is not WWE is somehow inferior, making fun of them with like the Yolo County Tag Team Championships. Like we say, all the success of AEW, here's the follow-up story. What do you make of all of the unrest, it seems, backstage in WWE?
Well, I mean, most of the talent I've spoken to the last couple of months have been unhappy. I can't think of anyone I've spoken to that, is happy with where they're at, off the record. And so it's not hard to see why. I mean, you're seeing no superstars being created. You're seeing the undercard being treated as, lower card guys, and the lower card guys aren't even on TV. Yeah. So, this 24/7 thing, it gets some of the guys on TV, but there's just so much talent that's being underused, that's not being used. And you can't push everyone at the same time, but you just feel like there's no one really rising right now. And, everyone's kind of staying on a level playing field. Seth is kind of where he's been. A lot of these guys are. So, I mean, it's clear to see why they'd be frustrated, especially when you see Jon Moxley where he was in WWE, and then the amount of buzz he's been able to create in just a few weeks. So it's WWE, there's just so many things that they got to change in order to start making superstars, start making larger than life stars, and start making compelling storylines. And those kind of things don't seem hard to do, but it just hasn't been happening.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because, right now with so few opportunities right now at the top of the card, not just because there's so many talents in general, but also now we have the wild card, right? So you have between 4 and now, I think 7. I think you counted it. It was at 7 this past week that were on Raw from Smackdown or something like that.
Yeah, it ended up being like 8, or I think it was like 8 by the end. Yeah.
Okay. So the brand split is like essentially done, right? And so, you've got the not just, less spots because we have so many talent. You just have less spots because you have Roman Reigns now on both shows. You have Alexa Bliss on both shows. You have 3 members of the New Day on both shows. And, that trickles down. You see more guys on main event, AOP, the War Raiders. These are guys that have been on main event, It's very weird. And I do wonder if it gets to a point here where there's such a glut of talent. Do we just see, we've seen, Bloody Fridays here in the past from WWE. Are we going to get all at once here in sometime in the foreseeable future, a whole bunch of talent that just maybe the market gets flooded all at once and they have to get rid of some guys because they have too many?
That's not WWE's mentality right now. Their mentality is just hold on to them and not use them. They'd rather hold on to a bunch of people and not have them sign with AEW than free up the bankroll. Man. So, yeah, I mean, that's where they're at right now. Mike and Maria Kanellis signing for 5 years. They have not been used at all on the main roster. They've been used, on 205 Live here and there. And they signed them to 5-year deals. And obviously it had to be a pretty good deal because both had been pretty, openly frustrated towards how they've been used with the company over the past several months. At one point, it was reported that they had asked for their release. And so here they are not leaving the company, but instead signing for 5 years. So, they're doing what they can to keep these guys as far as money goes. And, for some talent, it'll work, especially if you got a family. I could see that guaranteed money being, a big reason to stay. But for some, if you're young, you got a love for the business, you really want to make a name, you want to do something, I could see why they'd want out.
Well, and with Mike and Maria, like you said, they got a family, they have a baby now, right? So I'm sure that there's some stability here. Both of them getting to stay together on the road with WWE. And also, they released that mini doc, I don't know, 6-8 months ago about Mike Kanellis, about how he had been able to kick his addiction to prescription pain pills. And, he attributed a lot of that to WWE. For me, I think that's where they see this value. Like, Mike's a great talent, no doubt about it. Best shape of his career. But stories like that where, you got a guy on the record saying, WWE did well by me. Those stories, I think, are a bit invaluable in many ways to WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you had Mike Kanellis on TV telling that story, I think he'd be a much bigger star than what he's doing right now with whatever he's doing right now on 205 Live.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. They burned the curtain to the ground with Roman Reigns, let him go out there, speak his piece about what he was dealing with. I think you could see a little bit of that bump with Mike as well. I think it's a really good point. Well, somebody we're not going to see on TV here for a while, our third big story of the week, Lars Sullivan. It sounds like Lars is out with injury. The Observer reporting that Lars's MRI came back and his knee injury worse than expected. He could be at 6 to 9 months, which would put him coming back just right there around WrestleMania season. Big loss here, with Lars. I thought he'd done a great job weathering the storm of the social media stuff. I thought his work with the Lucha House Party had been fun, if not, the best thing on television, but fun and a nice warm-up act for what was to come. What do you make of Lars going down here for so long with injury, Raj?
I mean, this is devastating for Lars, just starting to get that push. All this stuff happens, kind of all at once, the social media scandals for the stuff he posted, many years ago in most cases. And then coming back from that finally seemed like, he's getting back on track. He got fined $100,000. This is coming off of NXT where he's not making that much downside. Getting fined $100,000 and, his first or basically his, second match, and he gets a knee injury that's going to put him out for, close to over 6 months, up to 9 months. So it's devastating. You got to, I know a lot of fans don't feel bad for him, but, I do.
I wonder here with Lars, if this isn't one of those things where it's like, if you stay away, maybe this could be a silver lining type thing, right? Because, obviously he was dealing with the anxiety of coming back and knowing that, reportedly he was going to have to confront these posts from the past. And that sounds like it may have played into whatever he was dealing with mentally at the time. This time he gets to go down. He's made his peace. We've seen what he looks like. The intro to him in WWE was rocky, right? It was push-pull for a lot of different reasons. This way, I think this time around, if he can go down, get healthy, we have some time away. Hopefully they could do right by him this time. You're literally going to get a second chance to reintroduce this guy. And it may be for the best. Maybe there is a silver lining in all of this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and maybe, and it could be the opposite too. You see a lot of times WWE lose interest in someone right away, like they see someone, they start to push them and they get injured and something happens and they get, thrown by the wayside. We've seen it happen many times with Snitsky and countless other guys in the past. So yeah, I hope the best for Lars.
Lars ain't no Snitsky. Vince McMahon looks at Lars Sullivan, whenever you're ready. He's like he bought a racehorse. He's like, look at this racehorse. He walks on his hind legs. He's got a hand.
He thought that with Mason Ryan too.
Lars is
way more talented.
Again, it's like you could physically compare him to all these people. I enjoyed his work at NXT, so I hope he does a better run here the second time around. Well, that brings us to our fourth big story of the Wink. Of course, that is Scarlett Bordeaux. She is no longer with Impact Wrestling. Impact announced her release via Twitter. Now, Scarlett's real-life boyfriend, Killer Cross, was recently on Petey Williams' Wrestling Perspective podcast. It talked about how Scarlett and he were really not making a whole lot of money at Impact, even going so far as to say Scarlett living with her mom and working a second job right now just to make ends meet. Scarlett's already gone to Twitter and said, who do you think I should go work for next? I was very surprised. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised by this loss because we had heard there was unrest there, but she was a really big part, I thought, of Impact's recent resurgence and big loss for the company, I guess, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a really big loss. I feel like in a lot of ways, she's been the most high-profile act that they've had for a while.
It's homegrown. I mean, homegrown to a degree because you hadn't really seen her on any of the other platforms in a major way.
Right, absolutely. So I definitely think it's a big loss. I'm surprised they weren't able to work something out where she still works their TVs and then can do whatever she wants. But maybe Scarlett wanted to be completely free so she could sign an exclusive deal. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's a pretty big loss to the company.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things you could do with Scarlett. Of course, AEW right now is like the the one place everybody always brings up. I'm sure Scarlett would do well there. But Ring of Honor really needs a centerpiece right now for the Women of Honor division. They've got the Allure there right now, which I don't really think is lit the Women of Honor division on fire with the fans. Scarlett does have a following here, and I could see her, if Ring of Honor really wanted to make a play for a free agent right now to spice up their women's division, I think Scarlett would just be a fantastic fit for them.
I agree, and I would be shocked if WWE didn't want her. I mean, she's got the look that they like. She's got the charisma, the personality. So, I mean, she seems tailor-made for what they are usually looking for.
That's true. It's true. But it's kind of like the Joey Ryan thing. Would they let her go be Scarlett Bordeaux? Like that character. I'm not so sure if WWE would, embrace her.
Yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't let her go as far, but they tried that with Emelina, a few years ago. So I could see them doing a toned down version of it, but who knows? Or maybe they just want to get her off the market. But I could see them being interested in her. That's
true. You're far too valuable. Why don't you please come sit here?
Right.
Just let us keep our eyes on you. That's all I'm asking.
And quit your 2 jobs.
You don't need to work 2 jobs anymore. You have 1 job. Your job is to not work for us.
Right.
Great. Everybody's getting WCW contracts now. So this brings us to our 5th big story of the week, which is, of course, WWE Stomping Grounds. Now, before we even get into the card, Raj, expectations low for Stomping Grounds right now. What do you think? Does this overachieve?
I don't really see how. There's not any match on here that I look at it and I'm like, oh, this could just blow the roof off the place, just because from a fans caring standpoint, right? I just, like Dolph and Kofi could have a great match, but I don't think fans see that as a world WWE championship match, as a big deal. So are they going to be super hot for it? I don't see that happening. So I don't know. I think this is going to be one of those pay-per-views that just DOA.
Okay.
I hope I'm wrong, because we have to watch it. So
the bar is low. So I'm
low.
Expecting it to be overachieved. That's typically what I've always noticed with these shows, but who knows?
That's true.
I could be napping halfway through. All right, let's see. We'll go through the card. Quick picks. Big E and Xavier Woods versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Who do you have?
And I do think this should be a good match, but I think Big E and Xavier Woods. It looks like they're kind of I wouldn't say burying Kevin Owens and Sami right now, because they are getting a lot of TV time, but they are having them lose a lot. So
yeah, I agree. My gut says Big E and Xavier. And I wonder what role they'll play in that steel cage match later in the night, right? Like, the cage, it keeps people out.
Right.
Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. Who do you got here?
I got Reigns. He just lost to Shane. Even though he did beat Drew at Mania, I think Reigns needs a little bit back after losing to Shane.
I don't know, man. It's weird. I don't know what they're doing with Reigns right now. It's very weird to me. He doesn't feel like the guy like he was the last run around. So, honestly, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they snagged us off guard here. Shane with a little interference helps Drew pick up the win. It gives him one more thing to, brag about coming out of the show.
And it keeps it going. I think if Roman beats Drew, it kind of ends it cold. But you have Drew win, then yeah, you could do a third.
Yeah, exactly. Let's keep this going. We also have the Cruiserweight Championship. Tony Nese defending the title against Akira Tozawa and Drew Gulak. Any preference here? Anybody you want to see coming out?
I think Tony Nese defends. I'd like to see Tozawa win it, but I think Nese defends.
Yeah, I agree. I think Nese will keep the title here. The newest match added to the card here: Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan defending the SmackDown Tag Team Championship against Heavy Machinery, the Yolo County Tag Team Champions.
It seems early to beat Heavy Machinery. I almost wonder if they'll do a DQ or something like that. But I see Daniel Bryan and Rowan keeping the titles. And the reason why I could see them doing a DQ is because they have no other tag teams on SmackDown. Now, again, that doesn't really mean anything anymore. They moved someone from Raw. The Usos did beat Daniel Bryan and Rowan at a pay-per-view recently. There's been so many shows recently, I'm losing track. But yeah, I see Daniel Bryan and Rowan retaining.
And do you think we can glean anything? And I'm with you. I think Heavy Machinery has a pretty good shot here. But do you think we can glean anything from the fact that Daniel Bryan was in a singles match against Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw? Do you think they may be, reconsidering putting Daniel in the tag division? Maybe he's better with just a Kevin Nash standing behind him type deal.
I mean, I think value-wise, Daniel Bryan's way more valuable in the singles division.
Agreed.
This match, as opposed to Daniel Bryan versus Seth, if it had been built properly, this show would have been a whole different show.
Yeah.
I don't think that's where they're going. I think once they make up their mind on something like this, they try to stick it through for a while. So I think they're going to have Daniel Bryan and Rowan stay a team, but I hope not, because Daniel Bryan is just way too talented, way too good. Him on commentary this past Monday night on Raw, he's just fantastic.
Yeah. Samoa Joe will defend the U.S. title against Ricochet.
I could actually see Ricochet winning it. You could kind of tell that WWE isn't too hot on Samoa Joe. They haven't really protected him. He wins the U.S. title and loses every match. So I could see Ricochet winning it here.
See, I could see it, but I think Samoa Joe keeps the title here just because Rey Mysterio, like we know from the interview we did with the site, he'll be back, maybe even at this show, right? End of June, early July. And I think he's going to be the one to come back and take that title from Joe. I mean, it's a built-in feud right there, So.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like they're trying to push Ricochet a little bit, so this could help get him up a little.
Maybe Ray cost Joe the title here.
Hey, that would be something.
We also have the SmackDown Women's Championship on the line. Bayley defending against Alexa Bliss. Preferences? Who do you got?
I think Bayley. I think it's too soon for Bayley to lose it. And plus, Alexa, I mean, granted, this whole brand split's a mess now, but Alexa Bliss wins it. Does that mean she's a SmackDown talent now? I guess that's what it would mean. Or does that title move to Raw, which makes no sense? So I think Bayley wins it.
Yes.
I think it's too soon.
A lot of questions, too many questions. So I agree for that reason. Bayley title. Becky Lynch defending the Raw Women's title against Lacey Evans, one of the better built women's feuds here.
Yeah, I'm going to call an upset here. I think Lacey Evans wins. I think they don't really have anyone else lined up for Becky. I think Lacey wins here, and it keeps this feud going. I think if Becky wins again, that feud's kind of over, and there's no one really else.
Yeah, I agree with you again here. Yeah, this is I think it's Lacey's time. She's got to get a big win here to look important in this division. They've invested a lot into her here. Becky, no belts, off the chain. I can absolutely see her picking up a chair just like her boyfriend Seth Rollins, just tearing down the house. We'll go over, speaking of her boyfriend, let's do the special guest referee Universal Championship match. Seth Rollins defending against Baron Corbin. We don't know who this guest referee is yet. Who do you think's the ref? Who do you think wins? What do you think's happening here?
I could see it being someone like Sammy, or they could do a swerve where no one would be Baron Corbin's ref. So then Seth Rollins gets to pick a ref, and so he picks Kurt Angle or someone like that. So, okay. It's not Brock Lesnar. I can't see it being Brock Lesnar. It makes no sense.
Brock would ref the match and then cash in right afterwards, I guess, hypothetically would be that scenario, right?
Right. And how can Baron be that dumb to, put himself in that situation? But you never know. I just don't see it being Brock.
Baron beats Seth, and then Brock cashes in, and Baron held the title for 15 seconds, but he can always say he is a former WWE Universal Champion. I'll put that nightmare in everyone's head.
Right. Yeah.
Speaking of nightmares, I have a feeling here in the WWE Championship Steel Cage match. My gut says Bray Wyatt appearance in the cage, Kofi Kingston after he beats Dolph Ziggler here. It's so vivid in my mind. I will be upset if I don't see it here. That's how I see this match playing out.
Wow. Kofi wins and then Bray Wyatt shows up, is what you're saying?
Kofi vanquishes Dolph Ziggler, and then boom, Bray Wyatt, lights out, lights up, the Fiend in the ring. There's a cage the New Day can't get in, right? The Fiend does his business, lights out, lights back up, he's gone. And then we have regular Bray Wyatt on SmackDown apologizing for what he did, right? To good guy Kofi Kingston. I
really like that idea. I don't see them doing it because it is a really good idea.
I know. I'm talking about it so much.
Right. But I just see Kofi winning. Oh, by the way, the last match I also see Rollins winning, and in this case, I see Kofi.
Well, yeah, I think we both see Rollins. I think the ridiculous path out of temporary champion Baron Corbin.
Right.
But that's the thing is I won't get the thing I want in Bray in the cage, and I will get this wacky scenario that I've just laid out in like a moment apart of Brock and Corbin. Right. No, but I mean, and I guess I'll wrap it up here before we throw to Joey. Do you think we see Bray on this show?
I don't think so. I think they'll wait until Raw or SmackDown. But I do think that last vignette, which I've loved these vignettes, and I think that last one, it seemed like the last one. It seemed kind of done. So I don't know, man. These vignettes have been great, but I've seen WWE waste people getting hot on something, and then once they come and wrestle, they just beat them within a few weeks, and just kills their momentum. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they just strap the rocket to him and let him go.
Yeah, well, we shall see. All right, well, that wraps up the top 5 stories of the week. Thank you so much. We got a little bit more here for you because we're going to throw it out to the field as our own Joey G chats with ROH star PJ Black.
Hello, Wrestling Universe. Joey G here from Wrestling Inc., and I am joined in the City of Angels with a very special guest, the Darewolf, the master of the 450, Ring of Honor star, PJ Black. PJ, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Every day is a good day when I'm alive, so thanks for having me.
Fantastic. If it's okay, we just jump ahead a little bit now. So after FCW, you were involved in a very popular storyline in WWE with the Nexus angle, which I believe was in 2010. And that seemed to be one of the first instances where NXT was a big prominent factor on the main roster. How do you feel now knowing the impact that the Nexus had, especially attacking Vince McMahon, attacking John Cena, destroying the ring set, which is to this day still considered one of the best closings in TV history?
Right. And at the time, we didn't know how big it was going to be and how cool it was going to be. A little bit later into the storyline, we kind of realized when random people from the backstage people, there's people backstage at WWE that's been working there for 30, 40 years, and when those people came up to us and be like, this is new, this is unique, this is something different, because those people have seen everything. And I feel like in wrestling, most storylines are just recycled or like borrowed from somewhere else. And at the time, that was something very unique that we did. So, it kicked in much later how cool and how special that was for us. I wish it ran a little bit longer. We didn't even get a WrestleMania moment, but it's all history now.
It's all history now. Well, it's still, like I said, history that's very remembered. And, I personally still love the Nexus angle, and I know a lot of people do. Let's talk post-WWE. One of the places you ended up was Lucha Underground. And one of my favorite, and in my opinion, underrated factions was the Worldwide Underground with you, Jack Evans, and Johnny Mundo. Can you talk a little bit about the faction? It seemed like you guys were just having a lot of fun together.
That's exactly it. We just wanted to have as much fun as possible. We borrowed some elements from other factions that we liked, like DX, and because DX used to have a lot of fun, and some NWO stuff, and we just combined everything together. And Jack is phenomenal. Like, he's legit my favorite wrestler to watch right now. Like, we all know that he can do anything in the ring, but like his promos are so good, his character stuff. Like, sometimes I'll stand on the apron and I'll watch him work, and he'll come for the tag in, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm in a match. Like, I'll just be so entertained. And obviously Johnny is on a next level. So, putting us three together, I felt like I was like the below guy that had to like prove myself. But I think we did a fantastic job. They gave us creative freedom. They let us have fun. And, in wrestling, that's very important because fans can somehow feel that in the ring. And, that's how you get emotionally attached to the characters or the storyline or whatever. And that's what makes wrestling fun for me.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, I was having a lot of fun watching it, and I think a lot of Lucha Underground fans were having a good time. And might I just say, not just because you're in my living room and I'm interviewing now, but I would definitely not call you the least of that group. I would say you were just as athletically gifted as the other two men. So now you're in Ring of Honor. Been signed there since March, I believe. And word had gotten around that you'd been fielding offers from other places, including back at NXT. Are you happy with your decision to go to Ring of Honor? And can you describe a little bit the creative freedoms that you've been able to have since going there?
Totally happy. I'm so happy right now. I had the opportunity to go back to NXT. It was the same money for 200 shows more. So already that was like a no-brainer for me. Like the dates of ROH was just much better to, because I still have creative freedom and freedom outside, because I do a lot of other things outside of wrestling, and they let me do whatever I need to do and want to do. So that was good. And obviously creative freedom in wrestling, like just to be yourself. Like that's very hard. I mean, I love the WWE. I'll never knock them, but sometimes a lot of the things are very micromanaged. Like, like I feel like that's why the Attitude Era was so popular, because like everyone was just being themselves and everyone had creative input and freedom. And like, every once in a while, obviously Vince stepped in and was like, okay, tone it down a notch. But it's easier for him to say tone it down a notch than to say give me a little bit more. So Yeah, like the creative freedom that I have, and I love the storytelling of ROH. I love the like the old school. They're trying to go back to the truth, the honor, respect, whatever, code of honor, shaking hands before and after matches. And I love that. I feel like, fans appreciate wrestling differently now than they did years ago. So if we can kind of bring that element back, like the athletic, the sport, obviously it'll always be entertainment and it's the storylines that attract us. But like you as NXT showed, like the in-ring performance is very, very important right now. Like, and that's what I like about wrestling too. It keeps on evolving. Like, can you imagine like 10 years from now where it's going to be?
Funny you should say that. One of my next questions to you was, with the rise of, in my opinion, the rise of pro wrestling in mainstream, with promotions like Ring of Honor going to Madison Square Garden, promotions like AAA going to Madison Square Garden. Obviously, AEW just ran a very big show in Las Vegas. Where do you see the pro wrestling landscape in the next 5 years?
I have no idea, but I'm excited. Like it's because of companies like AEW that a lot of guys have more options now. A lot of my friends are making way more money than they did, which is fantastic. And I feel like the popularity of wrestling has definitely grown. It's like mainstream right now. It's pop culture. It's cool to be a wrestling fan again. I think it's partly to do with all the superhero movies we see, the Marvel and the DC stuff, because technically we're just like live action stunt guys. We're superheroes in a way, and people want to look up to that and like live vicariously through us. And like we have a great fan base at ROH, but in Lucha Underground, we had a completely different fan base. Like we used to do like these festivals, for example, and people would come up to me and be like, "Oh yeah, you're that guy from the Lucha show." They know no idea about wrestling or anything like that. They just love the show because of the characters and stuff like that. And like we made people that watch Breaking Bad and like shows like that got addicted to Lucha Underground, and then those people started watching WWE and AEW and ROH and stuff like that. So we created new fans, which is awesome.
Awesome, which that's what wrestling and storytellers should do. And I've always considered, like I said, the work that you did both in Lucha Underground and especially now in Ring of Honor, some of the best storytelling that I've seen. Let's end with some fun stuff. You're in Ring of Honor now, and Ring of Honor's roster, in my opinion, is probably just as talented as it's ever been. You got guys like Roosh, you got guys like Bandito, you got guys like Shane Taylor, Jeff Cobb. The list goes on. You obviously know who you work with. Who's one of the guys or guys you are looking forward most to standing across the ring from?
It's funny you say that because people ask me this all the time and it changes every week. Like this was actually a key factor of me signing with ROH. I looked at the roster and I was like, yeah, I can have great matches with all of these people, so that was like a no-brainer for me. And the owner of ROH the other day, he's like, how do you get all these marquee matches? I'm like, come on, man, that's why you signed me. Last week I worked Jeff Cobb, I worked Bandito multiple times, Roosh multiple times, and those are the top three guys for me, I think. But not to discredit any other roster. I mean, Jay Lethal is fantastic. Dalton is amazing. Our current champion right now, Matt Taven, he's awesome. I'd love to work with him in the future. I think he's doing a fantastic job as a champion. What a great heel. So much fun to watch. Top to bottom, the roster is just great, man. I'm really looking forward to this year. And they give me creative freedom. Like the last 3 pay-per-views that we worked, they gave me time. They were like, just do your thing. And I feel like the office now has a lot of faith in me, if that's a correct way of putting it. And I'm just excited for the next couple of loops coming up.
That's great. Well, PJ, thank you so very much for your time. I know I am very excited to see what you do in the future. There's the little guy. That's who we will be interviewing next week. But thank you so very much for your time and good luck.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Raj, for talking the top 5 stories of the week. Thank you, Joey, for sitting down for that interview with PJ. Awesome discussion there. If you want to find written highlights to share with your friends, of course, you can come to WrestlingInc.com for that interview and all the interviews we do on the site. You can find those interviews on our YouTube channel. You can also go over to Wrestling Inc. Audio on iTunes. Leave nice comments everywhere. You can leave a comment and choose to leave nice comments, people. It's so positive. Also, if you like this kind of content, we got more for you right after Stomping Ground this Sunday night over on the YouTube channel. Back over on Wrestling Audio, we'll have our post-Smackdown post-show discussion. And, of course, every Friday, 2 o'clock Central Time here on the Ringside Wrestling app, free to download. We will be back with another episode of the WINCLY TV. Raj Giri will be back as well since he is back from vacation. And at Ringside app over on Twitter, at Ringside Wrestling app on Instagram. That's the place to go. Find them, support them. Raj, anything you want to plug, promote, put over here before we wrap up the show?
Just keep checking out wrestlinginc.com. It's been a busy year. We have at least 25 articles per day. It's been insane. So definitely keep checking us out. We have tons of stuff. Nick, you've done a ton of interviews this week. Just keep checking us out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has been we have been flooded with some really, really good interviews. So I would suggest you guys all go check them all out. Again, Rey Mysterio recently. That was one of my favorites. I got D Destro coming up next week. I got Jeff Cobb on the eve of his big ROH World Championship match. He's going to be on the show next week as well. Conrad Thompson, a whole bunch more. I got to look at my computer. I don't even know anymore. It's all a wrestling blur. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I am Nick Hausman at Wink Rebel over on Twitter. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.